Hello, I hope you're doing well. 9 months ago here on YouTube, I asked if you had any questions for me as I was thinking of making a Q&A, and this is part 3 of answering some of those questions. I expand a lot on each of my answers, that's why it's taking so long. So sorry about that, but here we go with part 3 and let's get into it. So let's start with Wendy's question, and Wendy asks, "Hi Caro, hope you're doing well. How did you come across your style, the combination of gouache, watercolor, and ink? Did you follow tutorials on your journey, and if so, which ones did you find helpful? Also, you mentioned you have to-do lists for every day, week, and month. What do your daily, weekly, and monthly goals look like? How do you stay on track and keep distractions like technology, phone, blog, and procrastination down? Are there days you don't feel motivated or as efficient? What sort of things to do you have in place in your environment or practices you use to keep yourself productive? When you were juggling between art and your bartending job back in the day, how many hours of painting and art did you manage to fit into your day?" Sorry for so many questions. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Awesome. So the technique that I use nowadays was something that I didn't follow tutorials for. This is something that just came to me. I have a background in printmaking, so I went to school, to art school in Peru, and I studied printmaking as my major. So painting was not really my strong suit. And printmaking, especially etching, was everything that I dreamed of. Etching and photography. So the way my art developed is I started creating my mandalic work just with black ink, black India ink on white paper. So I was just drawing with black ink for years. Slowly I started adding some gold into it. The first gold that I used was Winsor & Newton's gold drawing ink. And slowly, right at the end of 2014, is that I started adding very little speckles of watercolors into my drawings. I started with watercolor, and I think this will be asked in a further down question. I started with watercolors because they were an easy medium to use. My drawings, I felt, were very mathematical. They had a lot of geometry, they had a lot of measurement when I was just doing drawings. And I thought that being so precise and everything being so measured, I thought that watercolors could be a nice counterpart, like a yin and yang situation of having the black drawing part of the paintings be very structured, very mathematical, and very measured, while the watercolors could add this free flow sensation. Also in art school, I believe I never used acrylics, not because I personally didn't want to, but this was not part of what was taught to us in school. My school was very traditional, so we were mainly for painting using oils. If you ask anyone that went to my art school up until the year that I graduated, it was painting exclusively focused on oils. So acrylics never really were in my interest, and I thought that watercolors could be something fun to try. With time, plants and fungi started appearing in my paintings, and this is how my personal style started to develop by itself. But I started just trying out to do botanical artwork with watercolors because it's what I already had in handy from that first experience. And I loved the way that watercolors flew. I am someone that back in the day used to love having control of things, and I think that not only being an artist and painting, but also using watercolors within itself, as well as my spiritual journey and my personal growing journey as a human, have taught me so much about the importance of surrendering and letting go of the fact that I actually don't have control of things, and pretty much just do the best that I can and then let the free flow of life be a combination of what becomes the end result and my life journey. Anyhow, watercolors became this beautiful friend to really help me understand how to let go of that control mindset that I had, especially on my artwork. And the reason why I added the ink is because I started only using ink. At first I was only drawing, so watercolors were like an addition to my drawings, and I never saw it as my paintings have an addition of drawing with ink on top. I always, up until today, even though it's shifted so much, I still see it as I draw, and then watercolors and gouache are additions to my drawings. If someone asks me, I would generally say I draw more than I paint, but within the last few years I've started to realize that what I mainly do nowadays is paint. So that's how drawing and painting became one. So black India ink and watercolors, and with time gouache came along because I realized that I loved the fluidity of watercolors, but I was not obsessed with the transparency of watercolors for every part of my painting. For some reason, and I don't know why this is, I just surrender to the fact that that's how I feel. I love having matte, even backgrounds on my paintings, so I realized that gouache was a great way to do that. Within this last few years, I've been getting away from gouache, and I've been mainly using white drawing ink combined with my watercolors. But all of these just appeared from trial and error, from realizing what I enjoy the most, the ways that I enjoy the most painting, as well as what I feel that my paintings were asking from me. I felt that the living beings that I was painting and the planets and the microscopic art really would look their best in watercolors, but my backgrounds would look the best with even matte backgrounds. So yeah, I share this because I don't believe that the way that I do it is the best way ever. I think it's the best way for me right now, and I think that just like I came up with this within time, I share this because I encourage you, whoever here is watching that paints, to just experiment, you know, try out different art supplies, try out different things, ask your paintings and ask yourself what the paintings are asking from you, what they need from you, what would suit them the best, and try those things out. I feel that something that really helps me is not being afraid of ruining a piece of paper, because there's just so much paper in my drawer. So if I ruin, quote unquote, ruin a piece of art, I can start a new one, and I don't see it as a failure, but rather as that was part of the journey to redirect me and send me to another type of art supply, let's say from acrylics to watercolors or whatnot. So that is as far as the technique that I use goes. I feel that there's so many techniques that exist out there, and they're amazing, and it's so valuable to learn them. But I also think that it's such a wonderful and curiosity awakening journey to try our own techniques. You know, we can also discover new techniques, and I never thought like I want to start my own new technique. It was just something that happened throughout the way, and I think that's wonderful, because let's say last week I met a woman who's making her own paper from mushrooms, only mushroom pulp, and it's wild. I've never heard of anyone doing that before. Maybe there's been people that do that before, or maybe not. Maybe she's the pioneer, you know. So I think it's wonderful when we get curious and try new things out. ¿Qué más preguntó Wendy? And as far as how organize myself, I believe I've already answered to your question, Wendy, as I know you're my patron. Thank you so much for your support on Patreon. And a couple months ago, I did a whole video for Patreon exclusively that talked about how I structure my months, my weeks, and my days work-wise. So I am sure that the answer to your question is there. If any of you are curious about that, it's like an 1 hour long video explaining to the T how I organize myself in order to make things happen, and in order to stay constantly putting the dreams that I have out there, because I know it's so much easier for us to dream something than it is to actually organize, structure, and then make things happen. So I really wanted to answer to that question as in detail as I could. So if you're curious, you can check that out on my Patreon. It's available on my Rainbow Roots tier, which is a $5 tier. In case that interests you, in case it doesn't, that's all good. I'm not here to sell you into becoming my patron, so don't worry about that. Before I keep answering your questions, I just wanted to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Squarespace is the virtual home of my online shop, my art portfolio, my email campaigns, my website, and all things Caro Arevalo online. I have lately been very in love with Squarespace 7.1, which I'm just transitioning to, and I'm already starting to see all the amazing things that their fluid new designs have. And I also love their password protected sites. Thanks to that, I am able to share specific work with clients. So if you're feeling the call to share your art, to open a web shop, or to just, do your own thing online, feel free to check out the first link on this video's description. Squarespace and I are giving you a 2-week free trial. And once you're ready to launch, you can use the code Caro Arevalo to get 10% of your first purchase of a website or domain with them. And the last thing that Wendy was asking is how many hours did I used to be able to focus on painting while I was bartending, and I think that really fluctuated throughout the years. At some point, my highest time at the bar and the restaurant was 6 shifts a week in 5 days. So let's say Fridays I started at 10 a.m. and I finished at 4 a.m. the next day. So on Fridays I didn't get any painting done. I was working at the restaurant industry all day, all night. And there were days like, let's say Tuesdays, where I used to bartend from 5:30 p.m. till 11 p.m. So I would paint since I woke up until 25 minutes before I had to leave for the bar, because my commute was about 15 minutes and I took like 10 minutes to just like get my stuff together and go. So I would try to paint as much as I could. For years I really didn't even hang out with my friends, and there's real friends that can vouch for that, like my friend Anita, who at some point I was like, I'm so sorry I cannot hang out, I really need to focus on my art if I want to live out of this at some point. And yeah, I was painting, I was with my pencils and my rulers and on the floor painting up until 25 minutes. I had an alarm, the alarm rang, I put my pencil down, I would get my stuff together, like my wallet and cell phone and charger and water and whatever I needed to bring to the bar, like my can opener and the right clothes or whatever, and then I would just leave my home. I would use up until the last minute. And they were moments where I was just bartending twice a week. That was right at the end before quitting my bartending job for good. I had 2 shifts probably for 3 months. Before that I had more. And at that time I was not using all my free time to paint. I was using way more time to focus on my art, but I was also starting to learn how to edit videos, and I was focusing on, in 2017 I decided, you know what, I'm going to spend part of my savings, which were very little, but I really wanted to have an art studio, and I bought my pegboard and I got some plants and I made a pretty art studio for the first time instead of just painting on the floor in my bedroom. So it all fluctuated, but all the time up until today I have always tried to use as much of my time in this creative business that I am trying to build up. Today's a Saturday and I'm here working, and I've been here working since 9 a.m. and I have a very long to-do list today. So I think that up until today it's my main focus all the time, and I don't see that changing soon. It's not only because I love it, not only because it's also an obsession, not only because I'm the only one making the boat stay afloat, but also because I feel that I love this work and there's just so much that I want to be able to paint throughout my lifetime. And I'm going off topic. So next question by P-Dog-B. Other than mushrooms, what in nature on this planet inspires you? What kind of natural setting do you find the most inspiration for your creativity? And can you tell us more about how nature helps your creative process? Thank you. I love these questions so much. I think that besides fungi, I always describe my work as really focused on plants. I think the plants and the fungi kingdoms are my main love and obsession. But I think there's just so much more, and I always say that I feel so lucky to have nature be the theme of my artwork, because that really is infinite. Nature is so infinite. There's so many living beings, so many species, so many genres and clades within the world that I feel I'll never be able to paint it all. I'll never lack inspiration because there's just so much beauty in this world. Lately, I feel I am in my pollinator era. This painting behind me, which is halfway done, is about the pollinators, and for my Patreon rewards I've been working on pollinators for the last 3 months, and every time that I get obsessed with a theme of living beings, I really cross my fingers thinking I really hope my patrons are not like Caro, just get over pollinators already and start with another theme, but I think that's not the case. If it is, please let me know. But I have moments. It's like right now is my pollinator era, so I've been learning so much about insects that pollinate plants and which ones prefer to pollinate which ones, like the symbiotic relationship in between milkweed and monarch butterflies. So right now it's the pollinators that get me so inspired, but generally it's plants and fungi. I am currently, my biggest painting project is the eukaryotic painting, which the eukaryotics are a domain. So if we look at planet Earth, biology class with Caro Arevalo, if we look at planet Earth and we see the taxonomic divisions of living beings, there are 2 domains that encompass all living beings from planet Earth. I don't know if aliens are here and in what taxonomic division they would be. So 2 domains, prokaryotics and eukaryotics. Right now I'm working on a painting about the eukaryotic domain, and this domain encompasses 4 kingdoms. It encompasses all plants, fungi, animal, and protists. All of those are part of the eukaryotic domain, and then the prokaryotic domain has the other living beings, which are viruses and bacteria. So once I finish the eukaryotic domain painting, I will go ahead and work on a prokaryotic domain painting, which is about viruses and bacteria, and that's going to be wild because it's an unknown world for me. And I just think I go through themes. Something that I really want to explore at some point is a painting about beetles, you know? A painting about edible mushrooms is someone that I want to work on hopefully very soon. Maybe after finishing this one while I keep working on the eukaryotic one. So I want to work on a painting about seeds. I want to work on a painting about so many things, you know? So I think that nature itself is the main topic that really inspires me. And just like I did that fungi painting that took me forever, I was in my fungi era. I will never be over my fungi era because I just love them so much, but I want to make a painting about medicinal plants and I could just keep going forever. That's why I feel so, I don't know if the word is rushed, but so inspired to keep painting because there's so many topics that I want to explore, not only because I want to paint them, but because while I paint them, I learn from them. And it's part of my work is research, part of my work is painting, and I've been learning so much about different living beings thanks to painting. And the nature setting that inspires me the most is nature itself. Whatever nature, I'm the happiest there, but if I would have to choose one, I would say it's the jungle. I don't know if it's just so full of life. Everything is breathing in the jungle, everything's alive. It's so lushy, it's so alive all the time, you know? Maybe it's because of that, maybe it's because my mom and my dad's family are both from the jungle in Peru, from Tarapoto and Iquitos, and I maybe have that like jungle blood energy that makes me feel so connected to it. But I also love the oceans and the waters, and this year for the first time I got the opportunity to go to New Mexico, so I got to see the desert of the United States, which is something I had never seen before. And one day I would love to go to the redwoods and meet the giant sequoias, and I would love to go to Patagonia, and that's what I want to see about this world. I don't really have any passion about getting to know cities. I have a passion to get to know different nature in the world, but I'm going off topic. The next question is by Suzanne. Hello, Caro. My question to you is, do you suffer from anxiety or depression? And if so, how do you work around these and not interfere with your creativity? How do you trust and have faith that you are on the right path with your creativity that will be able to support yourself financially, especially when people find out you are an artist and, at least in my experience, paid lip service that you are a starving artist? Do you ever experience that? That is such a beautiful question, a very important one that I'm so happy you asked about, Susanna. And at the same time, one that is tricky to answer. I have never been like diagnosed by a doctor of having depression. I personally more than putting it in boxes, especially when I was younger, but up until today. I have days where I wake up super excited and super energetic and super happy, and there's days where I wake up and I feel the world weighs so much and I'm scared and I feel alone and I feel secluded and I don't want to get out of my bed, but I never stay in my bed. And I feel that one thing that I love about your question is you're asking, how does creativity play a role in it? And I feel that that's one of the main reasons, the reasons that my way of existing in the world, my different ways of some days waking up super excited and positive and some days being more in like this shadow aspect of life. I swear so much by a morning practice because that for me works heavenly. I feel that for me is the recipe to success. Whenever I feel I wake up feeling wonky, I still like drag myself out of bed and I go through my morning routine, which nowadays consists of doing yoga, of doing mindfulness meditation, of writing morning pages, of giving gratitude to life for being here today. And sometimes it also includes connecting to a loved one. Like I usually turn my phone off at night, like 9 p.m. and I turn it on after I've done my whole morning routine. But I give myself 20 minutes in the morning after my morning routine to talk to my parents or my sister or my friends. And I feel all of that combined uplifts me so much. I've been doing Ayurveda since February this year. And I also give a chunk of my morning to my Ayurveda practices that I do, like the Abhyaga oiling that I do in the morning. So I know how important mornings are for me, and I also know how long I take painting. I'm such a slow painter, so I know that if I want to be able to have this morning routine, I need to wake up at 6 or at 5 and make enough time for it to happen. If not, I won't have the space that I would love to have for this morning routine. And I've come to realize that in those wonky days, halfway through my morning routine, my mood has already changed, my perspective on life has already changed, and then I'm wondering, like, how was I not even happy this morning? You know, there's so much to be thankful for in life, and just I feel that my morning routine brings me back to the heart and brings me back to the faith on life having so many beautiful things and so many beautiful moments and blessings. So I think that the way that I go about depression or anxiety is really committing to a practice that works for me. And I know that meditation and yoga are not the morning practice that works for everyone. My husband's morning routine looks so different than mine, but he does this like 2-hour workout routine with weights and, you know, like all these weightlifting and hard workout that it's not my vibe, but that gets him clear and happy and excited and gives him all the endorphins that he needs. So I would never try to say my morning routine is the best. I think it's the best for me right now. And maybe for you it's not a morning routine, maybe it's a nighttime routine, maybe it's, I don't know, going to see a friend, maybe it is something else. And I think that just giving ourselves a little space to be with ourselves helps us understand what are the practices that nourish us and brings us back to the heart space and to the loving energies of being alive, especially within these years that life gets so tricky and, you know, things are so polarized and we are sometimes living like in a dystopic world and there's just so much going on and we know everything that's going on in the minute in the world. So I think that working on our mental health is so important, and I hope that I'm open enough about this because growing up and being a kid, I was suicidal and I had life-ending thoughts and I had life-ending actions towards myself a lot, constantly. And I don't have those tendencies anymore. I don't have those life-ending thoughts or actions any longer because, as I was mentioning earlier, nowadays I'm so in love with being alive and getting to know the world and painting and so many things. And I feel that I want to be as open as I can about these because if anyone watching these is experiencing these feelings or these thoughts or these emotions, I just want to say that you're not alone. A lot of us go through it in our own ways, and from my experience I can say that there is a way out, not for just one day shifting your perspective, but for the long run. It's been more than 20 years since I haven't had any more suicidal actions or thoughts with me, and no more self-hatred, really, which is a very big battle to win within yourself. If you've ever experienced this, you know how much of a struggle it can be. And I think that it's so important to share these stories, because a lot of us go through these moments which are very, very challenging and can feel very isolated. And I feel that creativity has been one of the best medicines for me to really love life, and for me to disengage with all these darkness and fear that I carried within myself when I was younger. And community has also been so important. A year ago I made a video that is one of my favorite videos ever, that is all about this, and I will link it on this video's description, because I was truly as honest and I went as deep as I could regarding this topic, because I think it's so important. And just like I'm saying, my morning routine played such an important role in shifting my ways and shifting my heart and shifting my relationship with life and with myself. I feel that creativity has done the same, and I feel that art truly heals, and it's truly been and continues to be such a beautiful ally and such a beautiful healer for me, because it's really shown me how life can be so beautiful. And regarding the topic of being fearful about making art, making money as an artist, I think that it's such a tricky conversation, and it's one that I would love not to be recording a video, but rather have an open call for all of us to, like a Zoom or something, you know, like a get together and talk about it, because I feel it's by waves. This year it's been a very challenging year for me in my career and the financial aspect of my creative business. But at the same time, it's one of the years that I feel more in flow and more in trust that things are working the way that they are. And when the year started, I was feeling very conflictuated and very fearful and very unsettled about the financial aspect of my work, and brands, you know, not really wanting to work with me, and then the numbers of the views that I get on my YouTube videos being a third of what they used to be, and having half of the patrons that I used to have. And you know, there's so much that I could be focusing on how bad things are going, but rather I'm for some reason so focused on the art itself, on the opportunity that I still have today to paint, on the opportunity of, yeah, maybe back in the day I used to get 10 orders a week, and maybe now I get 1 order every 2 weeks. That's still great enough, you know, that is still helping me so much. That still means that there's one person out in the world that likes my work so much that they would be willing to buy it, to have it in their home or gift it to a friend or whatever it is. And that really lights me up so much. And right now, for some reason, I am in full trust. Not that things will get better, I'm just in full trust that I am where I should be. And I'm also trying to be very smart about it, you know. I don't have any fear of if I need to find another job besides painting at some point. I need to go to an office, or I need to get a 9-to-5, or I need to bartend again, or whatever it is. I'm not fearful of that, because my creativity is mine forever, and this is a tool that will be with me forever. And if I cannot commit my full time to it, it doesn't mean that I failed. It means that things are shifting and there's other lessons and other opportunities for me out there. Maybe I'll do my painting slower than I do it nowadays, but that's fine. And I don't know, I don't really know if this answers your question, because it's very difficult for me to put in words what I'm feeling. You know, like financially it's been a challenging year, and at the same time I am in full trust that things are happening the way that they should, and I'm for some reason still so focused on creating more and painting more and pursuing these dreams that I have. This pollinator painting is one of my dreams, and I'm putting so much effort on it, and the same with the eukaryotic one, and I keep making my videos with so much love, as is, you know, like it's not about the numbers, it's not about the orders, it's not about the external validation. For some reason that has come to like a second plane. Right now it's all about like, how much am I actually learning from these? How much am I enjoying it? How much one person getting inspired by it is all the worthiness in the world that I need. And yeah, I know that I'm going off topic. It's difficult to put it in words, but that's a little bit of what I'm experiencing nowadays. Matthew asks, what are you looking forward to? I am looking forward a lot of things. I am looking forward finishing this pollinator painting. I am looking forward finishing the plant kingdom section in my eukaryotic painting. I am so looking forward spending days looking at species under the microscope, because I haven't done that in months and I miss it so much. Biology is one of the most important aspects of my work, and one of the aspects that gets me the most excited, and I haven't done it in so long. I am so looking forward keep working on, I don't know if it's in the camera, but up there are all my little jars with my earth pigments, all my crushed rocks. I'm so looking forward having more time to keep making my own watercolors, and I am looking forward keep reading the books that I'm reading and connecting, hopefully in a month, with one of my best friends, which I haven't seen in 8 years. And I'm just so excited for life lately. And it's not like this all the time, but I'm just looking forward for keeping creating, and I'm looking forward just keep sharing it with all of you, because when I see other creators sharing what they're doing, that lifts me up, that excites me so much. I feel like the creativity becomes contagious if we are seeing each other in person, or through a YouTube video, or through a Zoom call, or on my Patreon podcast, or whatever it is. I feel that that connection really, it's a ripple effect, and I feel that maybe I'm just so happy right now because I've been sharing my art in person with people. I this year went to Spirit Weavers Gathering, and I had the blessing of painting live throughout the gathering. And last weekend I went to MycoFest, which is a festival about mushrooms and art, where I was painting live, and I got to rumble and share with people about my fungi painting. And I feel that it just excites me that we are in this world right now, and it excites me that we have creativity as a tool for expression and a tool to keep sharing and keep inspiring each other. Maybe that sounded a little like Sandra Bullock in Miss Congeniality, like, and peace, world peace. But truly, all of these things are what I'm looking forward the most this time around. I could also say that I'm looking forward inspiring people to understand that being a nerd is fucking amazing. It's something that I was ashamed of when I was younger, when I was in middle school, liking all this nerdy stuff. And nowadays I love all the nerdy stuff that I look, and I love finding more nerds around the world who love all these like amazing nerdy themes. And okay, and the last question that I will be answering today is by Sarah Leila. How do you not get overwhelmed by marketing? I am not sure what you mean. I'm not sure if you mean how do I not get overwhelmed when marketing is targeted to me, or how do I not get overwhelmed as an artist to promote my own artwork? So I will respond both. If we are talking about marketing being targeted to me, for me to buy new things, I don't have a budget to buy a lot of new things, and I feel that the majority of targeted marketing that is coming to me is online. And for some reason that targeted marketing is not really aligned to me. So let's say the algorithm knows that I love mushrooms, so they will send me a lot of, I don't know, cute hoodies with mushrooms, but the algorithm hasn't realized that I love sustainability more than I love mushrooms. So I know that all those cute mushroom hoodies that they're targeting for me are made in sweatshops, so there's no way that I would actually fall for that and buy a mushroom hoodie. I also don't love to buy from big companies, so I think that I love what I buy, and I'm especially thinking about like clothing or toiletries or skincare stuff from small creators. So usually, or most small creators don't invest money on marketing. They just promote their stuff on Instagram or their YouTube or their little booth at a pop-up shop or at the farmer's market. So I know that if I want to buy a face cream, to say something like a face moisturizer, maybe I will be targeted to buy it from a big brand, and that's not what I really want to support. So I know that I will be looking for my face moisturizer at the farmer's market, or I will be looking at it at a small vendor when I go to a festival, or those are the types of brands that I really love to support. I believe that when people buy my artwork, they are moving the money from the mainstream big brother companies and giving it to small creators. And for some reason, I personally have a love of supporting other artists like myself with their clothing brands or their skincare stuff or their food or whatever it is. But I also feel a responsibility, like this money has come to me. So I think it would be so irresponsible for me to then put it back into the main big corporations when I could rather support another actual human being, a small creator, and their vision and their inspiration and their creativity. So maybe that's why targeted marketing doesn't really work for me. I also know that I don't need new stuff, so I think I have rarely or maybe never bought something because it's cute. I usually just buy something when I need it. Like I've needed a jacket, like a full jacket for years. And even though I've needed, I actually fall in the other side of the spectrum. I've needed a full jacket for years because I have my huge winter jacket and I have like very thin summer, like long sleeve stuff. And it's been years that I haven't had a full jacket, and I'm like, Caro, it's time, you should get one. So whenever I know that, okay, actually it's been 5 years, I need my jacket, I start looking at small creators. I feel it goes that way for me, being like, all right, it's time, I need this, instead of being the other way, like, ooh, the internet is telling me that I need this. And if at any point there's something that I've seen that I love, and I'm thinking especially clothing or maybe decoration stuff, which I don't need, like I can survive without that shirt, right? I don't need a new shirt because I already have one shirt or 5 shirts or 10 shirts. I don't need it. But if I, for some reason, am so in love with a specific shirt, even made by a small creator, and I know I don't need it, I overthink it. I think about it for a couple of years. And I'm right now thinking about the example of, there's this brand in New York City called Peels, which I've followed and loved since I was bartending because the owner of the bar that I worked on had one. It's a shirt that has the brand Peels on one side and has your name on the other. I saw this brand Peels and this shirt for the first time in 2014. And I've wanted that shirt since 2014. And I thought about it for so long, and finally this year I decided to get it. So right now it's 2013. It took me 9 years to convince myself, okay, Caro, you can give yourself a pat in the back and get that shirt that you've wanted for 9 years. Just get it, you know. Yes, you don't need it, but just get it. It will make you happy. It's fine. So sometimes I'm giving such a long answer. I overthink stuff before buying stuff, especially because me and my partner are not from this country. We're both from Peru, and all the time, every single year, we're like, are we staying here? Are we going? What are we doing with all this stuff if we leave? So I try to be very conscious about the amount of stuff that I get. I hope that answers that part of the question. And then how do I not get overwhelmed by me marketing my stuff? That's a tough one. I have such a hard time marketing myself. I have such a hard time marketing my offerings. I have such a hard time marketing my products. You have no idea. Like every time, if you ever see my Instagram or follow me there, if you do, thank you so much for your support. Even here on YouTube, like every time that I'm talking about a new print that I have, or a shop update, or the yoga mats that I made, or the fungi print being available, every time that you see a story or a post share about that, please remember that I've had a cringe moment with myself about like, people are fed up of being sold stuff all the time. I don't want to like be another one of those persons, like, and I have such a hard time doing it. But then I remember, like, I put so much effort in my creativity, and I'm not forcing people to buy my art. I'm just sharing that I have something available. So There's people out there that really want a new fungi print, a new artwork for their home, a new yoga mat, whatever it is that I sell. They want to take an online course about creativity and rituals. Like, I already created that, and this is by people buying my art that's supporting me to keep paying my rent, keeping the lights on, feeding myself, having an art studio, and the most important part, being able to keep painting and keep exploring nature through creativity and through painting. Then why not do that, you know? So I'm still learning how to not feel cringe about myself when I market my own stuff. If you ever receive my newsletter, I've had a moment of, Caro, don't be cringe, before sharing that newsletter. So I'm learning how to share my own offerings, and it's bringing a lot of healing, and I think it's also teaching me a lot about my art. It's worthy, you know? I am worthy, and it's still difficult for me to understand that. So I hope this is inspiring, you know? Because I feel it may be difficult for a lot of us, but we got this, friends! Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope it was inspiring. I hope it made you laugh. I hope you had a good time. If you like what you see, please feel free to give this video a thumbs up or leave a comment. This helps the algorithm boost me up and not ban shadow me or ghost me anymore. And also, if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe to my newsletter. I don't spam you a lot. Feel free to subscribe to my Instagram or to subscribe to my Patreon if you want to see more stuff. I do one podcast, one live call, 2 Patreon exclusive videos, and a lot of Patreon updates every month. I also ship artwork to my Patreons every month with the themes that I'm most obsessed about in the moment. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Squarespace, for supporting my channel, for being today's video sponsor. You can go to this video's first link in the description if you want to get a free trial and a discount on your Squarespace website. And I will see you next time.